Welcome. Good afternoon. Today we have Jake from the Smiles team on, and we are going to kind of check in with you guys. See, now that we're sort of a few months into the project, last time we had the Smiles team here, we were doing some giveaways. This was like early on in Lucky Traders timeline, as well as obviously the Smiles timeline. So, how's it going today, Jake?
It's gone well. Beautiful weather down here and busy working away for some exciting things in the future and catching up with folks. It's been a hectic few weeks and it's been fun.
Yeah, so I just sort of at first wanted to go over a little bit about just Smiles, what you guys have been doing since the last time we talked. Obviously, when we had you on the lounge in the past, you hadn't launched yet. We were doing some giveaways, but it was a pretty successful launch. So, what sort of things did you guys learn from the launch? And now, obviously, the last few weeks, you guys have been getting a lot more run recently. So it's nice to see you guys now as the floor. It got over 2, I think, at one point, right? I know that there was a lot of people on my feed that were talking about getting a little FOMO for either selling early or not buying in more recently. So, how's it been going since like from launch to now? Like, how are you guys been growing?
Oh man, it's been a wild ride. We've definitely learned a lot along the way. Growth, communication, technology, and understanding the limitations and kind of having to trudge forward and take our time and continue to deliver big while keeping expectations smaller. It's been great. The floor action, I mean, it's been insane. I can't say that I don't watch it, but it's more I kind of like want to know who's buying and selling, less so of caring
Yeah.
about prices to see. Because like we on your show gave away, pre-sale spots, so people got to minute point one, and if they want to cash in at 10 or 20x, that's great. We encourage, it's life changing money. Enjoy that. But for us, we've just been head down building. I mean, G right now is out. He's going to blow your mind with what he's doing right now. It's just pretty incredible, the pace we've grown and kind of building out a team that's large and allowing us to focus on things that are really important. Yeah, I don't want to give up anything at all because this is kind of impromptu a little bit for me, and
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting. I'll say that the stuff we're hitting on the blueprint that they put out in that tweet a while back. A lot of that is being checked off, and then things that weren't necessarily on there are presenting themselves. And if it makes sense, we're taking on these opportunities. And shout out to Gio and Wahid for not saying not sleeping, but kind of like the tireless responding to these opportunities, because it's great, but like you need to be able to manage that, and they've done a great job. So I appreciate their effort. The last 2 months, especially, has just been insane.
Yeah, and I think there's at this point in time one thing with PFP projects in general is people just look at them and say they all look the same, or oh, it's just it's a different animal, but it looks basically the same. But there's a unique style to the Smiles where it's got the 3D aspect to it. It's more of like a full body. He's got the skateboard, and it's definitely, I've seen a lot of these sort of like mashups with other projects. I know like the Cryptoon Goonz had one the other day that I saw where he was like wearing the mask that was the face from Smiles, and like holding a skateboard. And it's kind of cool to see like when multiple projects kind of group up together and join forces in that way. Um, so then when I'm just showing some now on the screen, but we had earlier today, we had Super Nifty on. I'm not sure if you follow him all that much, but it's kind of funny we're having multiple 3D artists in the same day on stream. But I think it's kind of cool to see how you guys have grown, because I mean, it was, I don't want to say it was a slow growth or anything, because when did you guys start? It was 2 months ago or so.
Oh, geez. We finally, I believe, ended up minting the last couple days of October.
Yeah. So it's been a few months, towards the end of the year, there were a lot of people that were focused on, selling low for tax loss harvesting and things like that. The market was in a little bit of a bear, but now it's kind of back up and pumping a little bit, just the market in general. And it seems it's nice to see that people are attaching themselves to this project as one of them, as people start moving more towards these like blue chip type projects, and now it's in that like middle range where it's more like respected in that way, which is always great to see. But how do you guys feel about just the market in general and how people have been attaching themselves to this project over others?
All right, so I'm gonna first. I guess I should show that I'm wearing a little Cryptoon Goonz
Oh
thing
yeah.
me from when we linked up, and that promotional material you saw is indeed connected to a South by Southwest collaboration event we're going to be doing on the 18th. So check that out. And then super nifty, yeah, I'll pump my own bags as well. I own his original floating heads, the super balls, and and I'm psyched for the spirits coming out. I tuned in for a little bit of that, so that's really great.
Yeah.
So just wanted to shout those guys out. For us, like one of the big things when you launch, and we had some delays, there were some personal things going on as well, and COVID strikes when it does. And the market was kind of very bearish at the time. So we try not to put too much stock into the market. It ended up being a mint that I believe in the end we ran 2 like pop-up raffles that anyone who entered who wasn't yet on the pre-sale list got a spot. So like that, you can't do that today in today's market, where if you threw up a raffle, it wouldn't have hundreds of thousands. So we did that. And if you purchased a Supreme t-shirt for like $70, you got a chance to jump in. So we were very fortunate with having a lot of people that wanted to be there from the beginning in a small way. Not necessarily, there were tons of people who had 5 pre-sale spots who didn't get to mint all because they're not people that are in this NFT space every day. They were just in the Discord early because they really kind of connected to Wahid. And that's something kind of truly special. So I think we're blessed, and I'm a little bit cynical about Big C community. Kind of a lot of these projects overlap, right? We all are speculating. So there's a lot of overlap in apes kind of owning a lot of blue chip projects as well. So this one kind of getting the amount of first time buyers in that we did, which I think is a huge credit to like Wahid, his art, the story he can tell more so than anything that we did, just the way he resonates with people and his willingness to talk to people. Those things really set us on the right path early so that when we kind of touch base with our great community managers and they're giving us the updates on how the community is going, man, that shit is so uplifting. Like it's just wonderful. And I have to give it to them because I'm a little bit cynical on community in this space, but I really see how it's affecting people and the relationships being built. And it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah. And I think, like you were mentioning before, it's probably really encouraging when you see, if you're watching the people buying and you see some of these like bigger name people in the space talking about your project, like that's always going to be a great feeling, because you guys had a very unique initial drop process that I thought was really cool, how you had it like broken up. Do you think the way that these projects now are trying to do these sort of like, it's whitelist meta is kind of what we've been calling it over here? Do you think that it's actually growing community? I think the way that you guys did it, like it clearly seems like you guys have really grown a strong community. So do you think that the way that these whitelists are running right now in these like massive discords are good or bad for building that community?
I can't see how they'd be good for building the long-term community. I think you're going to have a rabid community the first month because you're enriching people with tens of thousands of dollars off the get. So it gets really like contentious and cantankerous at times with people interacting with those new, communities. I don't know that you can call that it within like a week, but it sets like kind of unrealistic precedents that make me wonder if the creators are here long-term, right? Because you do want that slow growth. I don't think what we did can be replicated because like we did it. So now I noticed a lot of other people joining Discords really early in projects, right? So now things have 10,000 before they really put too much effort into explaining the project. It's a little bit, tricky, but people are creative. I do not think that this will be good long term. Anytime there's just such a high exponential on the floor price off the bat from a mint, you set something up to be full of speculators. And that's not like necessarily wrong. But unless you have a huge company kind of building behind this expensive to release product with like experience, I don't think that you can kind of grassroots something with that kind of budget and not disappoint people. So I haven't, like, I don't want to really shit on those projects in the aspect of I've been building and doing all this stuff day to day that I haven't really been involved, but I see it every morning, wake up and just see the retweet lists for these pre-sales, click on the Twitter and, oh man, they're following 2 people and have 100,050 followers. Like, this is insane. So of course there's value to it. But something I was really proud of Gio on the beginning when we were working together on the process was that we wanted to try to do our best to not inflate anything at any time, right? Like, if just kind of make sure that things were accessible to everyone who wanted to be there and figure out the method for that time in space. And it was a good method for the time and space. I really am proud of what we accomplished, but I don't know that you can do that anymore with all the attention on the NFT space. Like you mentioned, it was winter in, late October, early November. People weren't buying every new project anymore. Less were being released each day as a result. So, you got to kind of adjust, but we don't really let the current market play too much into any decisions or overreactions, because the floor is what the speculator prices. And I'm someone who is a speculator. Like, I can't lie about that. Like, that's how I kind of, learned about this space, was watching floors and trying to make some money that way. But I also understand it says nothing about the health of the project, as I've, let things go for 2 or 3x, come back 2 months later and they're huge blue chips now. And I'm like, all right, well, that was me being either greedy at the time or thinking, I'm just going to take the risk off the table, which is fine. If people want to take profit, that's fine.
Yeah. And I on the other podcast that I do with the club MGMI, we talk about being like a second guy for projects. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term, but it's basically like not minting the project, but then buying it later off of secondary. So I'm big on like waiting and seeing on some projects and then buying in. And I feel like Smiles kind of fits that mold. It's like what teams were building during those like December, specifically like December, the end of November of last year, like what teams were building and still producing those like community events and things like that. And those are the ones that I look for in trying to like be a part of. So let's go over a little bit of like what you guys have been doing as far as like building that community and the upcoming stuff, like you mentioned with the South by Southwest.
Yeah, well, I just have to shout out 90U and 27, our community managers at this point, who were moderators before Mint, who we pulled up from the community because they were just killing it in their passion every day for interacting with individuals before anyone had a product yet in their hands. That's one of the biggest things that blew me away early on, as someone who's not a Discord native, right? Like jumping in and seeing people who are in there every morning and night and seeing how they've grown, and now their ability to understand our community and clue us into what's needed. Those two in a community sense, honestly, have just been a blessing. And it has allowed us, as we've grown, to bring on tons of great moderators who interact, and have been great as well, which we didn't necessarily have early on. So the management that we have now is really secure and great. And it's pretty inspiring. Sorry, what was the second half?
Yeah. Then what type of community events, like what's on tap right now that you guys are working on?
So we know South by Southwest, obviously, with the Cryptoon Goonz, Sean, Ryan, Jesse, Joel, we've been linked up with them for a little while and excited to announce that recently. So, book your tickets, get down there. There's going to be tons of other communities, I promise, that you may or may not hold that you can get involved with as well, and other events down there. And yeah, I mean, we'll be at other kind of big events in the future. I'm not going to spill anything, but also looking to do more things where we don't necessarily have to throw something huge at an NFT festival type of situation, right? Where we can, empower people to do some things and meet up. I think Gio introduced the grant system a little while ago, the idea of it. So they're building that out, and that'll be available at some point in the future. And hopefully we can get some community initiatives going so that people can interact and they can, as cheesy as it is, smile together, send pictures of that, and we can build that up a little bit, because the way they interact online has been incredible. So if we can provide the opportunity for them to link up over some, common interest, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's funny because like us at Lucky Trader, we were looking into doing NFT land in Vegas next month in March, and now they like canceled the event, and I'm looking back and I'm like, well, at this point, I almost wish I decided to do the South by Southwest instead, because I mean I haven't been to a South by Southwest just in general, but it's always kind of been like on the list. I didn't realize they did it this early in the year. Um, it's in February already, but it's really cool that you guys are working on that. The Hodge, one of the friends of the show, we had Sean on a couple weeks ago. We had Jesse on last week doing a lounge. So yeah, we've done some stuff with those guys. They're pretty great, and it's cool that you guys can link up. And it's always great with like the sort of smaller projects as they like are starting together and they group up together. It definitely is a way to grow. And then you guys are doing this Super Bowl contest. If you want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I believe the link is up in the Discord and the instructions are in there. And I'll post something up after this as well, and we'll have a reminder tweet later today and tomorrow. I'm sure closes the entries at 10 p.m. tomorrow night Eastern time, 10 p.m. Wednesday Eastern. And I believe it's, just a fun, you don't have to be a big brain about football or know about fantasy sports or anything like that. Some questions, you'll get the coin toss, I believe is one of them. Things like color of Gatorade. And, there'll be a bunch of people entering, someone will win. And if it's a Smilesssvrs holder, rather I should say, whoever comes in first who owns a Smilesssvrs and holds it from the entry deadline Wednesday, 10 p.m. through the contest ending and, through the Super Bowl, as it were. We have those details on Discord. That person, if they, hold that Smiles, will win that one of one that Wahid put out, the football character. That's just, I mean, it's a pretty awesome prize. If you do win and you don't own a Smiles, or you sell a Smiles that you would have won with your entry, you can still qualify for the other prizes, but that's going to go to someone who, holds their Smiles from 10 p.m. Wednesday through the Super Bowl and wins the contest. And then the other prizes as well will follow. But yeah, it's super exciting to me, because one of ones are kind of, I don't want to say a more recent fad, because we've been in this, I've been in this space, I guess, for almost a year. But when we were putting out the project, I don't necessarily think it was super common to do that. And, this is all I believe it was Wahid who really wanted to find a way to let people get those, right? Like not just have it be a random lotto and you sell it for 30, 40, 50 grand after mint because you won that lotto. These are like kind of personal works, right? They're one of ones that you've put unique effort into, and especially being able to relate them to different events and things going on in the world as well. So I think it's a pretty special way for someone in the community to kind of earn this piece and everyone to have an equal shot, if you will. And it's just, you can zoom in on it all day. I'm sure we can't do it justice on the stream. But I love that.
Yeah.
Element.
And it's got like the theme to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Cause what I was wondering is, are they going to be, I was wondering if it was going to be something like customized based on after the winner, like they work with him on building one, or if they're already set up. But I mean, this one, this is pretty cool this might be the only one without a skateboard. So that's going to be a rarity. People are going to love that. But yeah, I mean, one of ones in any project is really cool, especially like with what you guys are doing. And it's really focusing it more on the art and like the artists themselves, which is really cool, because a lot of these artists come from doing one of ones and then move to these bigger collections. So is it 8 winners each get this one, or are all 8 going to be a little different?
Yeah, it's one winner will get this one, and there will be 7 other one of ones in the future that are all unique, and all different circumstances. And a lot of that it's I'm going to learn about in the future from Wahid. He's kind of a creative genius to an extent, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see when and how he wants to put these out.
Yeah. So over time there's going to be 8. It's not 8 just from this competition.
Correct.
Yeah, so Vidi is saying that he originally couldn't afford a Smiles when he started, but now he's got a couple, and it seems like it was on his list. He's also saying that coin toss is heads. So I mean, take that with what you will. The props are always a big thing with Super Bowl. Do you come from the betting or DFS industry before?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. DFS and then a year of betting, and then real work before NFTs for a while, if you will.
yeah.
But see, I'm gonna disagree. What I usually do with the coin toss is the first person who tells me like what to bet, I'm taking the other side.
It's the
So I'm
other
now
way.
tails. I'm now tails. Like I'm not gonna think about it anymore. I can't enter, so don't worry. Like that's But yeah, I'd be on team tails right now.
Yeah, we were looking at doing something along the lines of we did it on that podcast the other day where um, taking NFT lines versus Super Bowl lines. So it was like one of them yesterday was Joe Burrow passing touchdowns versus the Pixelmon floor at the end of the Super Bowl because they were both at 1.5 the lines. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of cool stuff like that that you can really make into this, and everyone loves that type of stuff in Super Bowl specifically. Are you rooting for either teams or anything, or
Yeah.
not really
Um,
care?
no, I think I'm in New Orleans right now, and it's Carnival, so I threw on the
Mm,
little Mardi Gras suit. But I have never seen a city cheer so hard in like paid advertisements and billboards for a team that's not them in the Super Bowl as the Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase are being pushed with LSU connections. And with the
yeah,
fact that, the Rams tanking that last game is why the Saints aren't in the playoffs. Had they won that game, that they were up, 17 at half. So there's actually electricity here about the Super Bowl and celebrating that LSU product, making it
wow,
little bit bitter when it's like Fournette and it's Tampa Bay. Like it was a little bit harder to swallow, but there was still celebrations. But this is because he's local. He came up 10 minutes from me where I am right now. So, but yeah, we're really excited for the Bengals down here in NFT land. I think no matter what, right? There's athletes on both teams with NFTs,
yeah,
so
yep.
that's
It's,
cool.
Von Miller, Odell. I know that they both have apes, and then obviously like the halftime show that's been like the talk with Eminem and Snoop Dogg on there. So it'll be interesting to see like that. That's another thing you could come up with, like how many NFT commercials there's going to be. I saw they were doing a line on like which NFT was going to have a commercial first after I think it was Nouns. Nouns is doing something with Bud Light, and so they're like the favorite to get it because they've pretty much locked in that they're going to show them in a commercial. So it's funny like
It's got to be a
NFTs.
sponsorship thing, right? Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
seven
Oh yeah.
7 mil. That's no one should be able to afford that other than like the apes kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nouns, their DAO has a lot because they were running like an auction where it was at least during like the height last year, they were getting a 100 ETH sale each day and it just went straight to the DAO. So they definitely have the money. It's a lot of the old like punk holders. But it's funny because last year around the time of the Super Bowl, NFTs almost, I don't want to say they didn't exist or anything, but definitely not in the way they are today. It was basically people were in Top Shot or nothing yet at that point. Did you ever get into Top Shot much?
Yeah, I was in Top Shot. I actually fell on it randomly and then saw Bales in the lobby and
Yeah.
interacted and sent him a DM trying to make sure it was him who was buying all those like LaMelo balls for like $100 back in the day. Uh, and when it was, I was like, all right, well, let me put a couple $100 into this because like I'm never in something he's in that's like early. Like,
Yeah.
so like this is a blessing. So right around February, like you said, Super Bowl, we were just starting to realize the eyeballs. It was a couple weeks after he did, the article he put up about Ja Morant. So that was it for most of us, right? We were learning about digital art a little bit. We were like discovering Ethereum and these coins, but we didn't need to use it for Top Shot. So yeah, interesting that was a year ago that we still weren't, we were still 2 months away from apes or 2.5 months away
Yeah.
from apes.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Like just how crazy that year overall was. How did you originally get connected with the Smiles team?
Oh, I'm gonna embarrass Wahid. So it was more just I'm Wahid's like second collector, I guess, or like in the first string of collections that he did on the art side of 101s. But he had reached out to a couple people kind of anonymously, like in a respectful, shilling way. It was kind of adorable, and sent a message just like posting his art that had just sold after his Genesis piece sold, and saying he was going to do 4 more pieces. And I was really excited to check them out. I was fortunate enough to buy 2 of them at the time. Um, and then he wanted to do another little like ode to the people who bought them. That's the No Apes in the Wild collection, where like my former Bored Ape, not rest in peace. He's gone off to a great home.
Someone,
But
yeah, someone has it now.
he's profiled in there. Actually, the guy who owns it's a great dude. But yeah, he's profiled like that ape, a couple other apes that were involved in his early success. So like, I just wanted to touch on that. Like, he reached out to us to like ask us like if it would be cool for him to like use our apes in like an honorary way. Like, it was just so humble about that. After his work had all sold, it had reached like 1 ETH floors when we weren't pumping too crazy on art yet. This was June, late June. So I just, we stayed close through all of that. He did his next No Apes, and I was a horrible guide for his drop when we were on the phone, and it took him 5 hours to release it because I don't know OpenSea's restrictions on duplications versus multiplications so it was a little bit of a mess, but he sold out. It was a super emotional like kind of day and night. Sold out 100 at 0.1 a piece. And about, I don't know, at that point, maybe a month later, Gio and him came to me and said they had this wonderful idea that they had talked out and come up with. And like, when he had told me that, like, since he had sold out and so many opportunities were arising and people were reaching out to him, he just wanted to try to get his art in hands for like a reasonable price, like be able to do a generative project so that he could do that and put these in hands for 0.1 and, hope to return value in all other ways. I mean, Gio's been incredible on that sense with business connections as well and opening lanes for him to thrive. But he just wanted to be able to share his art for a reasonable price. So to see a collection come out this beautifully and people be so happy and collect more than one, right? Because they just want different versions of what could have been out of the tens of millions possible. It's just been pretty special.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, like connecting to artists in general. And like you said, back then, like when I first started collecting NFTs in last like February or so, because now I'm getting on some of my OpenSea stuff, it says a year ago on like when I purchased. But it's true, like a lot of the times you would buy something from an artist back then and they would find you on Twitter, like DM you, thanking you, telling you a little about their story or if they have stuff coming up and like what their plans are. And it's really interesting that like now it seems like there's a lot of like distance between buyers and artists on some of these projects, but that's where like something like the Smiles, the Goonz are like very much about explaining the artist's story to people. And I think that those are the types of projects that can have a lot of staying power because you feel a little more connected to the artwork if you know like the background and the story behind it. So like it's really cool to see like the teams that are doing stuff like that. Obviously now with like the Bored Apes that they dox the founders and artists, and you're learning a little more about them more recently. But
yeah. Well, the whole artist founder idea, right, where an artist links up with someone and creates a team and builds out, it's not, I mean, it's uncommon. It's not super rare these days, but it's very uncommon where the artist has the control and the vision and can act like a creative director and build. So that's just super special because artists don't have to be that kind of minded to be great artists. So when you find someone who really does get it and is excited to continue to build and grow and change the world in different ways. I know that's a loaded phrase, and a lot of the touch on is like what we can do for our holders, but like by impacting the greater world as well in a positive way, there's also growth there. And I think getting outside of this little bubble that we've created with a couple 100,000 wallets that trade these things a little bit like commodities and speculation chips. I think that's like something that sets us apart, something that sets Goonz apart. Like you said, when you have these artists that are really on a journey, and there is an obvious brand and a story to tell. So shout out to Time Studios, obviously, for picking up he's connection there and the TV show that's to come. But yeah, I think just being able to share the story and put a positive light on artists. I definitely own like every major artist founded project first, where like the artist was the one hustling and trying to get noticed, and then they did a project. I think that's like kind of really special to me, to be able to see them empower other artists as well along the way.
Yeah, one that I recently that popped up was the Super Guy shows. That was one of my early ones that I got into a year ago, and I saw that they just came out with a project last week or so. One question that I like to bring up on these types of interviews and shows, especially the ones with like as I was saying before, it's not like everyone is doing the same exact like copy paste looking art. What's your favorite trait in one of the Smiles? Do you have a favorite trait?
I think I can narrow it down if you give me a category. I don't think I don't think I can cross compare, but I can definitely do for the category.
Let me bring.
Let's see.
Okay, so let's say the pants, because there's like there's a lot of different pant styles on here.
Okay, so that first one is my favorite design, or not, sorry, my favorite style, I should say. That what is it, like Victorian, that on the Loverboy there? Yeah, that's my favorite style. Not necessarily the pattern. The thermal one that's on the main screen might be my favorite pattern, but that is a style, that kind of multiple cuffed Victorian look. Like, that's awesome. Like, I haven't seen that in any collection. I know full body isn't widely done, but that's just so creative and executed so well. What is it? Yeah, Victorian. I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 versions of the Victorian as well. But yeah, that's my favorite bottom for a style for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But
I don't know that I could pull it off. Could you pull it off? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I could. The one that was on that first page, the one that's like the tie-dye pants, I feel like I could pull these ones off. Like, I have some pants that are kind of like this. Those I kind of like. Oh, he's got like cleats on in this one too. This one, what I like about this is, like, would anyone wear this outfit just by itself? Like, probably not, but I feel like it works even with like the firefighter hat on here. He's got the deal with it glasses too. Like, it's pretty cool.
I love the black backgrounds. Like, that's not even like a rarity thing. I just, for like, it pops so much with the yellow base when you have like the common base, to have the black. I think that just sets it off. But yeah, those thermal pants. I saw someone yesterday nab a thermal top vest that matches the bottoms with the 2 faces kissing. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, you just discover them if you went through and just like checked off a bunch of them and look. It's wild. I can't say that I know all 200 plus off the top of my head, honestly.
Yeah, right.
It's there. Yeah, I mean, especially the pants, because there's so many styles. Like I said, there's 3 versions, I believe, maybe 2 of that Victorian. So I don't necessarily know which ones. I just, every time I see them, it's awesome.
Then what do you think about the ones that kind of like this one? The ones that have stuff like going out of the head?
The head space.
Yeah. I feel like it sort of depends on these ones for me, like what else is going on with the rest of it, if it like pops to me. But I mean, it's definitely something that's different and cool. Like, this one kind of looks like it's just, like a parachute popping out, basically. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. But
yeah, they're my favorite kind. And like you said, I think, some work better than others in the situations like frowny faces, when the guy's literally all smiles and has all smiles written all over him. And it's kind of funny with the frowny faces. But I just think it's kind of really unique to throw like emotion, like, what's going on in your headspace behind a collection like that. And sometimes that heart one, when it hits the hardest, is probably the best. Like, when it hits in the right one, just looks so cool.
Yeah, this one, it is pretty cool. And the thing that on some of these projects, that have a lot of traits is they can become too busy. But I think keeping, you know, the skateboard, the bag as like standards and like the floor as standards, and they're all pretty separated as far as like looking at the picture itself, because there's kind of a lot going on in this one, but it doesn't look super busy like some of these other projects that have, you know, there's like the eyes are doing something, the mouth is doing something, the head is doing something, there's something on top of the head, you know. And I think the fact that this is such, it's not like a big picture, but the fact that it's the full body, like there's a lot more you could do with it, and it's just like the the quality and the detail of it is pretty great.
Well, that's what I think it is, because I won't give us a pass. Like there are ones that get busy just by nature of, it's hard to have every trait, the metadata on having what all 14 traits or whatever possible is very rare as it were. But like even those ones, they do seem busy. But for me, when I click on the 4K or get the 6K and zoom in, it's kind of wonderful seeing how it all works. Like you are putting, something in the face with something around the neck, right, at the same time. Not all of these have that, but you throw that on a face with something on the head in the headspace, and all of a sudden it can be busy. But I think it's some of them work a lot because of it, because you're just seeing the transitions from this to this and seeing how much effort that man put into it.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
What do you think of this one? This is Vidi told us to check his out, 2211.
Okay.
It's
See,
pretty clean.
Yeah, I mean, I believe there's 7 skateboards and bags. Nothing like, there's not one to match every situation, so to speak. The head to top, great. I love the jeans with the holes in general, especially when you match them up with those light blue UNCs. Yeah, and the red on the tag actually sets it off. That Afghan bag touches everything. I would say, like, I don't mean to be like an art critic on it, right? Like, the only way I could improve that is probably making the skateboard blank, because the background's blank, right? So like, but it doesn't hurt. I think it's pretty cool. And that base works, like when you have red and that base, it obviously, works pretty well, because that base has a yellow tag version and a green version as well with the glow. So yeah, that's awesome. That's really clean.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And like the hat really does pop with the shirt, the red combo. I think it's pretty clean. That's what I try to look for when I'm going for them, is like, is it clean altogether? Like, does it make sense looking wise? Because the other thing is, a lot of these you want to show off to people, or you make it your profile picture, and you want it to be something that other people will look at and be able to either, associate it with you, or basically you don't want other people critiquing something if you have some like really bad random project and just everyone's ripping on how bad the art is. Like, that obviously doesn't happen with the Smiles one. Like, it's high effort art. And like you said, if you went in, where would you find the actual like high def file? Is that sent to you within the Discord, or like you don't get it as you purchase, correct?
Yeah, I'm not prepared. I have to hit up, I believe, and on Chicken Legs, or someone else created a quick link where you could just capture that really quickly with just putting in your 4-digit number, or 3 or 2 if you were down there. So I'll send you a message for that if anyone's interested afterwards, so you have that and you can get the high res versions.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and
it's
pretty
been a lot of
cool.
fun.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just to like, if you go through the collection, right? Like, think about how you'd want to dress. You can like type in sweatshirt. You can type in, to some extent, like some of the traits match up, and you can kind of build a character and like hope that it's there, right? Obviously, there were tens, hundreds of millions of possibilities with 250 traits, 14 categories, but it's pretty cool. And a lot of times, I'm just disappointed that things didn't come out, which is kind of a good sign. And you're just like, oh my god, there's so many things that could have clicked. I love the construction vest personally.
Yeah,
Like
I was just looking at that one.
that's what I'm
Especially
up
like
with.
the combos you can have with it. You know what I actually don't really like all that much, and I feel like
Ooh.
they probably get premiums, is like you have the silver one, the red guy. I just like the standard guy. Um I'm sure that these get a little more premium on price, but I don't know. It almost doesn't when it's like a human and it's like human traits, I want it to look more like a human, you know? So that like silver one, it looks more like a robot to me. So like I don't want to get one that looks like a robot when, you know, most of them are the other way. Obviously you'd be able to tell. Like that's the other great part of these is you could show yours to someone and they immediately know that it's the Smiles because, you know, 90% of them have a very similar face at least, and just the holding the bag and skateboard as well. So like being able to create a brand that is so recognizable, just across Twitter when people are using them as PFPs, and obviously now like you guys line up really well with the goons that are also kind of like walking in theirs. So um I enjoy it. I think that the art is pretty dope on these, and like you said, like I didn't even think of that before, but now I'm noticing the backgrounds and how they match with them. Like this red background with the red jacket, the purple with those purple pants. It is really cool to see like how they've the randomization to an extent, right? But still come out with pretty cool combos.
Yeah, it's really neat. I mean, the effort put in to make the pants cuff right on all the shoes and things like that. That like,
Yeah.
you know, obviously there's more when you do it just head up. But we're seeing so many issues people are having, and we had some with clipping that Wahid was fixing and whatnot. But to see that full body and to look for me, what was so amazing was to zoom into those pant legs and see how they fold out, you know, how they match up and wouldn't clash, even though you're not going on the same layers and it's all random and you have to make sure it works. So it was probably his, I'm not going to speak for him, but I would imagine that was his, you know, least fun part was that, you know, shit, I've made these beautiful assets that are beautiful and I can show one of them working. But when this one pops up, shit, now I need to redo it for that model or this. So
Yeah.
he was busy at work. And that's why I'm sure it, you know, took a little bit longer to get the product first out. But was just working away and probably learned more in those couple months than many people do in a life about this stuff.
And like the shading stuff. And yeah, it's always crazy. And you know, this is something that it happens in a lot of projects that there's a lot of the detail initially, and we're seeing this a lot recently with like delayed reveals or projects being pushed out a week after drop. They're like not ready for it. But I think there's a lot that goes on in the back end that people don't really take into account. And there's so many little details that you have to check, and you know, trial and error and just testing and then seeing, oh, those two would look terrible together. Let's fix how could we make it look a little more normal. So it's really cool to see that he was thinking of that and adjusting along the way.
Oh, that man made like 30, 40, 50 more bottoms and top traits too. I can't even, he's mentioned that before and always makes me play the villain. It's like, Jake made me get rid of him. I'm like, bruh, the amount of time, like you 250 already. Like, no, there's not enough of any top or bottom for it. Like, that's what's so great to me is that I don't think there's any top or bottom that's like more than 300 or so. So that like, there aren't that many people if people pick a favorite, right? If society decides that this one's really cool, like who cares about rarity? There's only 85 of that bottom and everyone wants that bottom because, you know, people started appreciating that. So it's really exciting how into it people get when they discuss the traits or try to trade within Discord and such.
Yeah, it is almost better to not have too many traits and be able to people latching on as like a subset of the community that has all the same, you know, pant leg or hats or whatever. Like you see this in a lot of different projects. Like Doodles is one that's like that, where there's people that they all have like the rainbow puke or the same mohawk. And it's really cool when you have a lot of different things, but enough that it's not like, oh, there's only 5 of these and there's 20 different things that there's 5 of. And you know, it's really tough to balance a lot of that when coming out with these projects.
Yeah. So I just want you to know, Wahid, like if you ever get around to watching this, that like I know you made more. I think it worked out well. Like, you know, you have those in your bag, as it were. But no, I connect with some of the tops when I see them. I'm like, yeah, like that's something I would wear and want to wear and hope one day to wear.
Yeah, maybe you wear it for Halloween or something, out on the streets and carnival. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
I would encourage anyone who comes to Austin to, try to dress up, right? Like if you can match a fit, like that's pretty cool. You have things like you just showed, like jeans, a soccer jersey that you can, make a little close, and some shoes that are available for gas fees if you were. Right?
Yeah, that'd be dope. Cool. Yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to plug or talk about that's upcoming for Smiles?
Just a reminder about the Super Bowl contest so that everyone has a fair shot if they purchase the Smiles. If you hold it from Wednesday at 10 p.m. through the Super Bowl contest ending at the end of the Super Bowl plus a little bit of time, you will be eligible. And if you win the submission that's available in our Discord, you get that one of one that Wahid created. That's just pretty dope. So just wanted to remind people about that. But no, I'll let the great marketing team and communications team, and when G's finished with his business now, kind of touch on this stuff in our weekly touch-ins. I'm pretty good about not spilling the beans. The only thing I will give you is that like there will be a lot more going on than just that one event with the Cryptoon Goonz in Austin. That's all I'll say.
Okay, so go
It's
to
worth
the
coming
event
down.
if you
It's
want
worth
the
coming down.
alpha. That's where the alpha is going to be, basically.
Yeah. Come down. You guys love Rye. Like he's if you haven't had the opportunity, just shoot the shit with him live. Like great dude. Super excited to be able to touch base with him again after Miami. After like knowing him virtually, I guess for like the better part of a decade. So it's always great.
Yeah, he'll be a great host for you guys. I'm sure he'll let you know all that's good down there. Yeah, Vinny said he'll be there.
Oh, nice.
So,
yeah, I went down to Austin to check it out after we had kind of talked about doing this, and he ditched me. I don't know if he'll listen to this, but he did. He and his wife, and they bounced out somewhere. So I was in there and explored his city for like a week with my girl without him. So I'm excited to meet him in his city. It was very. Nah, he's a great dude. Great food city too. Like being in New Orleans, I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough call where I'd rather eat 5 meals out a week.
Yeah, probably depends on what you want to eat too. I went to Austin once. They have the like 6th Street there. Yeah, if you want like barbecue, I'd probably prefer Austin over New Orleans. But I mean, there's just so much great food and food trucks in New Orleans. Like, oh man, I've been there a few times as well. It's definitely one of the best places to eat. But I could see. If you're there for too long at a time, like you're going to check out all the great places.
Yeah, I moved there actually right at the beginning of Top Shot. So like end of January, just was like, all right, lost my real job with COVID and just wanted to enter the NFT space from a new place because I was online.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a little bit rough on the gut. I haven't been as chest puffing out with like that rock solid body that just messing around. But like, yeah, it wears on you when you have all this great available heavy food.
Yeah.
And I'll accept that burden. I don't want to put that on anyone else. I'll eat that food. Don't worry.
It gets hot and muggy though, so there's plenty of sweating going on, and you sweat a lot of the back out. We could like think of it that way, but cool. Yeah, so it's great having you on. If you guys were watching this video and want to see more things like this, or have different projects or people from projects that you're interested in hearing more about their story, then let us know in the comments. Follow us, subscribe to the channel, and let us know, because we're very interested in getting to know a little deeper into these projects, because there's not a lot of people that are out there really looking at projects after they mint. It seems like people are interested up until mint, but I'm really interested in the teams that are building post mint and still providing the value to their investors. So it was great having you on, and definitely fill out the Super Bowl contest, because that would be a great one to win. And you never know with the Super Bowl with those props. Like there's crazy stuff that happens, and someone's gonna end up being lucky and probably maybe not get a perfect score, but probably get a bunch of it, and that could be you. So it'd be great to have that one of one Smiles, especially it being the first one would be pretty dope. So excited to see how that turns out. And then we have another stream that's going to be starting in about a half hour on Preston Sports Cheetah, his channel, through us. So if you're watching and have something that you want to do in another half hour from here, check that out as well. But besides that, have a good night, everybody.